Good afternoon and welcome back to the Little French Homestead. My name is Sherry. If you are new, welcome. If you are returning, thank you so much for keep coming back and watching my videos. It is much appreciated. So in this particular video, I am going to be making some different kinds of casseroles. I have recently got a afternoon position locally here in my town, which requires me to have to make a dinner much earlier in the day. My husband does go to work in the evenings, so I usually have to make a little extra so he has enough to go to lunch. What I have here in a pot is just some regular pasta, whatever you have. Boil it with some salt. You want to make sure that you salt that pasta water. Once it's been drained out, I am taking 3 cans of tomato sauce. The recipe does call for a 24-ounce jar, but I found because I am making a little extra that I really did need 3 cans. So you'll see me add 1 more can in a few minutes. All of these recipes that I do have, I will link down below so you can follow along. But you're going to use, you can use a rotisserie chicken. I had made up 2 whole chickens not too long ago with that delicious broth that I had showed in a previous video. And what I usually do is strip them all down and I freeze them, and then I cook the bones and everything, all the other fat, into a delicious stock. So then that way, this particular meal here is just pretty much a throw together kind of meal. There's the other sauce right there. So with all of this together, you are just going to keep it in a pot, mix it all up. If you don't have a rotisserie chicken on hand, or you still have to cook a chicken, just make sure you cook it thoroughly before you add it in, because you need a cooked chicken to go inside here. Now, I did kind of double some of these spices, but it's some garlic powder. I did add some onion powder, even though it doesn't call for this one, and then some Italian seasonings. Now, I do have a video where I have made a lot of my own seasoning mix, and I can link that for you down below. What all you're doing here is just adding everything all into this one pot. You could kind of technically eat it like this, but the recipe does call for you to bake it up. So you add a little bit of mozzarella cheese, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Then you're going to incorporate that to get it nice and ooey gooey. You are going to then add it to your casserole pan. Now, I have aluminum foil, but if you don't, that is totally okay. Sometimes with these dinners, I do like to go ahead and just be able to throw everything all in the trash. It's a little less of a headache. I did this also too because I'm making a few other meals, and one of my daughters just had ear surgery, and it is her chore this week to take care of dishes, but I am not allowing her to do that this week. So I am taking over dishes, and I wanted to give myself a little extra of a break when it came time in the evening to do dishes. Once you add everything all to your casserole pan, you are also going to add in the microwave, you want to melt 2 tablespoons of butter and about a cup of panko breadcrumbs. You want to add that mixture all down, and you're going to add the remaining mozzarella and Parmesan cheese. This will be baked in the oven at about 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes. Unfortunately, I did not able to have you see the final results on some of these because we've cooked these throughout the whole week. This was a 1-day meal prep. This came out really, really delicious though. Everybody in the house said this was a great way to have it. That way you're not also too, I know Parmesan is the chicken parm should be, if you flatten down your chicken, you breadcrumb it, fry it in the oven and use this. But this turns out in a much simpler and easy way for you to go ahead and do it. I did add a little bit more garlic powder to this mix. Bake this, like I said, and it is absolutely delicious. We had it with a side of salad and some bread. You can freeze this. If you don't want to bake it right away, go ahead and put maybe some saran wrap over this as well as aluminum foil. But if you do that, don't forget to go ahead and mark on a aluminum foil the directions and also to what it is. In busy times, sometimes you might forget what you have there, and the times you may lose the recipe or whatever. So I wrote right on it right there, and I even wrote down the date. That is going to stay out until it cools, and then I'll go ahead and put that one in the freezer. So we've had many a times chicken parmesan, but we've never had this. So I ran this by the family and they all said they would love to try it. This is called a cowboy casserole. So what this pretty much means is, again, I will leave this recipe down below, but it calls for 1 pound of ground beef. Now I did 2. It also calls for corn, but I did not put that in there. I'm going to cook that on the side of it later. The 1 can of cream of mushroom soup, but we are not mushroom people in the house. So I ended up doing cream of chicken. But like I said, I am doubling this batch here. So you see why I've got 2 cans going in. Normally you would just do 1. You got a 1/2 cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then salt and pepper to your taste. And then you're going to have some cheese and a bag of tater tots. So while this is all getting ready to get thrown together, again, if you want to go ahead and make this up without pre-cooking it, go ahead and get everything all ready. Again, as you see, I have a aluminum throwaway pan. This was absolutely a delicious dinner. I could not believe how good this was. We actually had this for Wednesday night's dinner, a side of corn. Again, we just did a little bit of some bread and some butter on the side. You don't have to do that. After you've mixed everything, because you want to make sure your ingredients are all cooked and warmed all up and hot to the, your tastings. If you wanted to add anything else to this, like any other spices, go right ahead. I was just following this recipe. I like to follow a recipe at least once, maybe twice, before I start doctoring all up. I want to get the flavor of the recipe as it was intended. And then I will go back and go, okay, well, we could add this and we can add that. And that's how you can play around and get some of these recipes to your specific liking. After everything is all thoroughly cooked, go ahead and add it to the pan. Once you have done that, You are going to go ahead and add your cheese. Now you can use whatever cheese you have on hand. I have has this shredded cheddar that was here. Not too long ago, we had gone and did a big shopping trip over at our local Sam's Club. I don't have a Costco near me, or that's close enough. It's like 45 minutes or more away. But we go to Sam's Club, and I know that I was doing a lot of these meal preps. So they had all of these pre-shredded bags of cheese that are on sale. I do normally try my hardest to go ahead and shred the cheese. I'll buy them in blocks and shred them when I get home. But sometimes you just don't have that time frame to do it, because I know that they put that coating on, and that coating is always not a great melting for particular recipes. So you're going to take then your full bag of tater tots. That's a 32-ounce bag. It fits perfectly on there. Go ahead and put that in the oven at 350. You want to leave it uncovered, and you're going to cook it for about 30 to 35 minutes. Again, make sure if you're going to save this, wrap it all up thoroughly. Make sure you label this of what it is, your ingredients, whether it needs to be covered or uncovered. And then you want to allow to cool before serving. All right, so the next recipe I have here is one of our family favorites. It is a bacon and onion quiche. What I'm doing here, though, is I like to cook my bacon and onions together in a pan. Now, normally if I am not cooking these two together, I will go ahead and cook the bacon in the oven, and then that way it comes out beautiful, crisp, and clean. But because I didn't want to go ahead and bake nothing in the oven, I put everything together all in one shot. Now you see me cutting up the raw bacon. Just a few seconds ago, you did see me. I thought I nicked my finger, but I did not, thankfully, because that was my very, very sharp knife. And that's why you saw me when I was doing the onions. I kind of looked at my finger, but there was no blood, there was no nothing. The point just barely touched my finger. Once you go ahead and get all of this delicious bacon and onion caramelized, I didn't separate. Normally, sometimes you would go ahead and, lay on a paper towel to exit all the extra grease. I did not do that. I just used a slotted spoon as I was scooping everything all out to make sure I didn't have all of that excess grease in the pan. Here I am going to crack 4 eggs. Now I am doing 2 quiches here because, again, we are a big family. We're a family of 5, but my husband usually has to take a dinner to go to work with. So I usually make a little extra, and then that way if we have lunches for the next day, or if nobody wants to go ahead and eat it, which is not a big deal, I will freeze them, and then we can have them as lunches as we needed. So I am using here some Greek yogurt. I've had this yogurt in my refrigerator for a little bit. We have been going through it. This is a delicious brand. I got that on my one of my grocery hauls that we did. I do like this, but it sat for a little bit. It's still very good though. I added the yogurt, and then the eggs. I've got some salt, some pepper, and then I've got some parsley going in there. And then it dawned on me that we still had a bunch of scallions, some green onions that my mom and dad grew that they gave us. So you're going to see in a little bit. Besides that, I just dropped my nutmeg top inside my mixing bowl. I've cleaned it since then, obviously, but that was funny. So I just went and added some nutmeg too. I almost forgot about my nutmeg. Now, my parents had given us some the green onions that I was talking about. So I went and cut up all the green onions. So we've added the green onions to both of the quiches. Now, quiches are a wonderful, they can be done for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We like to have quiches more in the dinner time. We do a lot of breakfasts for dinner. And when we do that, like I said, it'll be a quiche. Sometimes it'll be a breakfast casserole. Sometimes we'll just do like eggs and bacon or sausage with some home fries and some toast. So there's going to be a lot of different things that we do, but we love breakfast for dinner. It's also very affordable because you're not having to spend of a lot of ingredients. We have chickens in the back. They were giving us now some eggs. They had stopped laying for a little bit. So I needed 4 eggs for each quiche. And so I had to use one of ours in each one of those. After we've mixed all the ingredients together, I had put in my glass quiche pie plate the pie filling, the pie crust. Now, I usually don't make my own, especially if I'm making a really big meal prepping day. I don't have the time to really go and do all that. I did do a nice little fork impression all the way around that to give it a little bit of elegancy. Then after adding your bacon and onion down at the bottom, we added then the mixture of egg. And I also added a half a cup of milk. Now you could replace the yogurt with a cup of heavy cream, but I substituted that. Add a little bit of cheese into it. I see here that I am mixing it down to try to get the cheese a little bit into the egg mixture. You're going to want to bake this at about 350 until the eggs set. It can take anywhere between 35 minutes to an hour. You don't want the egg in the center, but still just a little bit jiggly, because then that way, I mean, not like egg jiggly, but a little bit jiggly. I almost dropped it there. I was like, whoo. And I was like, well, let me go ahead and get another towel to wrap my hand around. I was trying to do it one-handed, but I can't. That looks absolutely delicious. We had that on Thursday night. I just want to say thank you so much for coming into my home. I hope you enjoy my videos. Keep on cooking. Bye.